Does NASCAR need Cleetus McFarland? We'll talk about the new IndyCar on Fox commercial that ran because it's actually pretty good. The Daytona 500 sold out once again, and we'll talk about the future of brake hard if TikTok goes away. Welcome back to Brake Hard. I'm Matt. Meant to record this video this morning before I hopped on for work. Went to shave my neck beard so I didn't look like an absolute incel, and it died. So then we had to postpone it to lunchtime, and now here we are. You guys definitely needed that little life update, but let's talk about things that actually matter other than me shaving my neck. First off, we're going to talk about TikTok real quick. Obviously, the ban is coming up on January 19th. Whether or not that actually happens, I'm still not 100% sold yet. I know some of you on the YouTube side of things have followed over from the TikTok side of things. If TikTok does go away, massively unfortunate. Built a really good following over there. I've had a lot of fun interacting with a lot of the followers, all the comments, everything like that. That's opened up a lot of doors for me. Eternally grateful for everything that has given me. If it does go away, all the short form content will move over to Instagram Reels. I'll also cut it down to 60 seconds, hopefully, to get it up on YouTube Shorts. And then all the long form content will, of course, continue here on YouTube. I just hate to lose that resource because, like I said, it has been really fun over the last year and a half, 2 years. So if it does happen, that's where you can find me at. And hopefully everybody follows me there. Instagram at Brake Hard blog. And then obviously YouTube here, you're already watching. So we'll get into what we want to talk about though. One of the big things I've been wondering since last Thursday in the ARCA test is, does NASCAR need Cleetus McFarland? Or how could NASCAR use Cleetus McFarland? It's probably the better way for me to frame it. Because last week I made a video about him running the ARCA test at Daytona, and I consume some Cleetus content for sure. He bought the old DeSoto Speedway down in Florida, turned it into the Freedom Factory. I've always enjoyed those videos of it. I like watching some of his race stuff, whether that be like when they rented out Bristol or IRP, or even some of his drag racing stuff as well. So when I recorded this video talking about him doing the ARCA test, I honestly thought it was kind of just a throwaway. I was like, oh, this is just like kind of a cool story because sometimes you get some weird names that show up at the ARCA test, and Garrett Mitchell, aka Cleetus McFarland, showing up it's cool, right? Like it's definitely going to pique the interest of some people, but I didn't think much of it. Turns out it's one of the better YouTube videos I've had in terms of numbers in a little while now, and that's because people absolutely love Cleetus McFarland. Wherever his name is mentioned, eyeballs follow to it. So that got me thinking, this is an untapped resource that NASCAR absolutely should, be investing in or tapping into at the very least. And the NASCAR marketing department can go ahead and use my idea here or hire me, whatever you would like to do, and use Cleetus McFarland, because when you look at his numbers on YouTube, he has 4.1 million subscribers on YouTube. NASCAR, their channel, has 1.33 million subscribers. There's actually a driver that has more than NASCAR. That would be, you'll never guess it, John Hunter Nemechek, who has 1.38 million subscribers. That guy has absolutely capitalized on YouTube Shorts. Shout out to his videographer, who is one of the hardest working people I've seen on pit road in 2024. Hopefully he's back in 2025 as well. But when you look at it, 4.1 million subscribers, that's a lot of people. That's more people than tune in most weeks for the NASCAR Cup Series races. So there's an audience that you can tap into. His videos average about 1.5 million views. Sometimes you get up to 2, sometimes you're down to 1. Every now and then you'll have one pop off for 6-7 million views there. But Cleetus, if you've watched one of his videos, you know he always starts off with an ad, whether that be Simply Save, A1G or AG1, Athletic Greens 1, not A1G, or, the debt thing or whatever else that he's promoting. That would be a perfect placement for NASCAR. Obviously, NASCAR has been trying over the last few years to connect with a younger audience. If you look at the ratings each and every week, you know that NASCAR has a very old audience in terms of demographic. Majority of their viewers each week are over the age of 55, and they're not getting any younger. They're not reversing age like Benjamin Button. It's just not how time's working. So if you can tap into a resource which has a younger viewership, you should absolutely do that. That's what they're trying to do with Barstool, right? They do the deal with Barstool. There's a brand deal, which is also included in the Rubbin' His Racing podcast and the coverage over there. That's a joint partnership between the two parties. And it's to try to, tap into that Barstool audience, that 18 to 35-year-old demographic. Now, Cleetus, of course, is going to have, I don't know exactly what his demographics are, but you know that it's going to be heavy in that 18 to 35-year-old demo, but he's also going to have some people that get older. When I look at my demo on YouTube, I'm constantly surprised about how many people over over the age of 50 consume this content. So on the Cleetus side of thing, for NASCAR, if they want to do an ad buy with him, that would be really smart. Whether it's for the Daytona 500, obviously it's sold out now, or another race that's coming up. Could be Miami, could be Summer Daytona, could be Southern 500, Coke 600, Chicago Street Race, literally anything, or just a NASCAR brand deal overall. I think that's a resource that's worth tapping into. And then you look at his other numbers. He's got 2.4 million followers on Facebook. He's got 1.4 on Instagram. He's got more on Instagram than Dale Earnhardt Jr., and that guy's literally NASCAR Jesus. So I think that he would be a valuable resource because it certainly got people paying attention to an ARCA test, which literally never happens. So if you want to go a step further, somebody should put some dollars behind him to run him in a couple ARCA races, because the viewership for the ARCA races would definitely see a spike. Maybe even the Truck Series, and then hope that they stick around to maybe watch, an Xfinity race or a Cup Series race and try to build their fandom from there. But I think that Cleetus is an absolute resource that NASCAR should try to tap into, just because eyeballs follow him wherever he goes. You can make the comparison of like a Danica Patrick to him if you want to, where you're like, I don't know if he'll actually be any good, but it's certainly going to draw a new audience or new eyeballs to the sport. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. So I'm curious to see if they're going to have anything, in the pipeline with him, because I think it's definitely worth the test. It's worth taking a little bit of that marketing budget and just seeing, hey, if we put ads here or not, what can we get done? So yeah, overall, I think that his involvement with the ARCA test was absolutely fantastic. And I would like to see him potentially do some more if he's interested in doing oval racing. Obviously, he is a drag race guy at heart, going in a straight line. Why the NHRA doesn't try to, use him more often, I'm just constantly baffled by some of the decisions over there. But we'll see what happens. But for now, Cleetus being involved certainly brought some eyeballs to the sport and some new eyeballs to my channel as well. And I think it could really help out, at least, marketing the sport. Fox debuted their new IndyCar promo, which will run during the NFL playoffs over the next few weeks, and it was actually really good. It was centered around Joseph Newgarden, and it actually made him likable, which is really hard. It's like making Homelander from The Boys likable, and never would expect it. But the commercial had a little bit of everything in it, I guess, when it's you're talking about Joseph Newgarden. It starts off with Joseph Newgarden as a sperm. Seriously, I'm not even joking there. It definitely did. I'm sure Roger was probably like, what was that? Choked on his Pepsi or his Diet Coke or whatever he's drinking at the time. It also had milk involved with that, a baby throwing a milk bottle at somebody else. His Texas crash when he broke his collarbone. Him doing his best Forrest Gump impression at the ping pong table. Turns out Joseph's actually really good at ping pong, because why not? The guy's just good at everything. Talked about his jawline. Tom Brady made a cameo at that. Talked about his time as an author of a children's book. Alex Pillow shows up. His kid was not a fan of that either. And it really centers just around him. And it's one of the better pieces of content I've seen Fox put out in the motorsport space in quite some time. It's better than anything they put out on the NASCAR side in the better part of a decade. And hey, they didn't even end this commercial by being like, this is the best season ever for 2021, completely ignoring the fact that, like, guess what? 2022, 2023, 2024 are all going to exist. And 2022 was definitely better than 21, and 24 was definitely better than 21 as well. And I just hate the marketing that went behind that and kind of the brand idea for it. But regardless, I think Fox is putting a lot of effort behind IndyCar, and I absolutely love to see that. I know I trash IndyCar a lot. I love the Indianapolis 500. It's one of my favorite races, my favorite race to go to of the year. But everything else about the series is constantly just like, you could be so much better if you would just do some of the simple things, if you would just take some risk, if you would just not be so conservative with everything. And this wasn't conservative for the first time. And it was funny, but not sideshow funny like Fox tries to make NASCAR. It wasn't using some dumb shtick humor. You didn't have anybody dressed up as a watermelon seed. It was really good. It was really well done, and I'm really happy that it rolled out like that. Now, apparently, there's going to be a couple others. There's an Alex Pillow one. There's a Pato Award one, and that's how you promote your stars. The Daytona 500 commercial that came out this weekend during the NFL playoffs literally had Joey Logano on there, and he never said a word. It never even talked about Joey Logano. There was a voiceover from Clint Boyer. We also included Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt, and Bab O'Reilly by The Who. It hurts my brain. If we're talking about wanting to attract a younger audience, we have to stop relying on the past so much. Yeah, I absolutely love the fact that Dale Earnhardt won the 98 Daytona 500. I love the fact that Jeff Gordon's a 3-time Daytona 500 champion. Yes, the Daytona 500 is about history. It's about adding your name to the history book. 100% on board with all of that. but the commercial could be done better. It could be done in a much better way to promote the stars of your sport that you're desperately trying to turn into actual stars. So on one hand, I'm super pumped that Fox is putting effort behind the IndyCar side of things. On the other hand, I'm massively disappointed because that's how they should be treating NASCAR, and they just aren't going to do it. And that's a bummer to me. So hopefully we see some sort of changes going in and through the 2025 season, but I'm excited to see what IndyCar looks like on Fox. I pray that they're not going to do the comic book characters for the IndyCar drivers, but hey, if they land Will Buxton, that's pretty intriguing as well. Last topic of the day, the Daytona 500 is sold out for the 10th consecutive season. That includes grandstands and camping. The track says that there is some premium upgrades that are still available. Either way, that is a really, really good accomplishment for the track. I'm going to go ahead and insert here because I know there's going to be somebody in the comments that's like, well, yeah, of course they sold out because they reduced the capacity 10 years ago. So it's not really a real sellout because they used to have more seats there. Shut up. Who cares? It's a sellout based on the number of seats that they have there. It's still 101,000 people that are going to be there for the Daytona 500. It's still going to be a great time. And I'll see all of you that are going down there in Daytona, what, about a month from now, basically. And that's going to be really exciting. I'm super excited to get down there for that. I'm not going to do a break card tweet up because that just seems conceited to me, but I will go to the Jeff Gluck, Bob Pockris tweet up over there and say hi to people if they're hanging out. Either way, if you see me, say hi. I always like to talk about racing and meet people. But for the Daytona 500, selling out for 10 consecutive years is really good. Yeah, it's not Indianapolis having 320,000 people on grounds. It's just not, and it's also not designed for that either. But the 500 having this over, a decade that's strength in the sport. We constantly hear people talking about how NASCAR's dying, how NASCAR has been dead since 2001, everything like that, but it really isn't true. NASCAR is growing in popularity slowly, but it's still growing, and you're getting more people back out to the racetrack. More people want to experience these things, and the Daytona 500 for a sports fan is one of those events that you should absolutely check off your bucket list at some point. So I'm super pumped that they did sell out for the 10th year because it means that people want to come to the racetrack. Yeah, people are going to be like, yeah, they used to put 150,000 people in there, 160,000 people. That's true. They did. But I don't care about that anymore. I care about them selling out these seats that they have now, and they're being able to do that, and people are excited to come to the racetrack, and that's really all that I care about, and that's really all anybody should care about. We shouldn't, sit here and think about the fact that there used to be a backstretch grandstand. Who cares? We don't need that. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, we all remember when the hood flew up in there during the summer Daytona race. We remember the moments on the backstretch. But there's a time when that just doesn't make sense anymore. And we go through major economic shifts, and that's what leads us to what we have now, which is a world-class facility. Don't get me wrong. That is a 100,000 seat grandstand and one of the nicest facilities that you can absolutely go to, especially on the NASCAR circuit. ISC tracks, in my opinion, are above and beyond better than SMI facilities. So if you're going to a racetrack this year, I definitely recommend going to an ISC track. And just my opinion, over the last 2 years, going to a few different racetracks. I've probably been to 10 different racetracks, 11 different racetracks in that time period. The ISC tracks just continually are cleaner, have better reception, better fan access, better things to do, in my opinion. That's just on me. So we'll see how it plays out, but I'm excited that they sold out once again. So let me know in the comments what you think about NASCAR potentially using Cleetus McFarland as a bit of a marketing tool. The IndyCar commercial on Fox, I couldn't put it in here because it'll just get flagged, as well as the Daytona 500 selling out. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok @BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook @BreakHardBlog.